The coffee was hot in my mug, the old porch swung steady beneath me. Just another quiet Texas morning settling over the Patterson Ranch. Same as it had for more mornings than I could count across my 60 years. Then the peace shattered. A high-pitched engine whine ripped through the calm, sharp and angry, followed by the spitting sound of gravel kicked up its speed. Down the length of my long drive, a cloud of dust exploded like a gunshot. And through it charged a white BMW, gold rims flashing ridiculously in the sun, barreling toward my house like it had a damn death wish. Before I could even set my mug down or push my aching knees to get myself out of that wicker chair, the car skidded to a halt, not 30 yards from my porch step, spraying dirt. The driver's door flew open and she emerged. She moved like she owned the ground she walked on, which was ironic considering she was trespassing. Tight red business suit that looked agonizingly out of place against the backdrop of dusty fields and weathered fences, heels stabbing aggressively into the gravel. Her face was set in hard, impatient lines, and she was waving a stack of papers above her head like a battle standard as she stormed right toward me, completely ignoring the clearly posted, "No trespassing, survivors will be prosecuted," signs my granddaddy had put up half a century ago. "You need to vacate this property immediately," she screamed before she was even halfway to the steps, her voice shrill enough to make my teeth ache. "I bought it fair and square. This ranch is mine now." I just blinked, the sheer, unadulterated gall of it hitting me like a physical blow. Mine. This place wasn't just some parcel on a map. My name is Charles Patterson. Chuck to friends. Retired Sergeant Major. 22 years I gave the Army, saw enough of the world's ugly side to earn the quiet I found right here on the spread my great-granddaddy carved out of the wilderness over 120 years ago. This land breathed Patterson history. My great-grandfather built this very house with his bare hands. The deed, the real one, solid and indisputable, sat locked tight in the heavy iron safe inside, not 50 feet from where I stood. This ranch isn't just property recorded down at the county courthouse. It's a living history book bound in barbed wire and weathered wood. Every fence post tells a story. Every scar on the barn door holds an echo. And my late wife, Janie, loved this view from the porch more than anything. Used to sit right here beside me, her hand resting warm on mine, watching the sunset paint the fields in strokes of golden purple. Her roses, the stubborn crimson climbers she planted near the old barn with her own hands, still fought their way skyward every spring, vibrant and beautiful, just like her memory. Losing this place wouldn't just be losing acres and a house. It would be severing the last anchor tying me to her, losing the echo of her laughter on the wind. Her eyes cold and assessing scanned the porch, the house, the wide open land beyond with blatant dismissal. I could almost hear the gears turning behind them. Old ranch, stubborn old man, probably broke, easy target for whatever shiny, soulless homeowners association nonsense they were planning across the highway. Whispers I'd heard in town lately about progress, about developers buying up land suddenly sharpened into focus. Those unfamiliar cars I'd seen slowing down near my turnoff. Maybe they weren't lost tourists after all. An old soldier's instinct for trouble brewing, ignored for too long, now screamed red alert in my gut. I stood up slowly then, deliberately unfolding my full 6 feet 2 inches frame. Letting the years of Army discipline settle back into my posture, I made sure I towered over her. I pulled on that old ingrained calm, the one that had kept men alive in firefights she couldn't even imagine. "Ma'am," I said, keeping my voice low, even, and carrying clear in the morning air. "You were trespassing. I suggest you turn around, get back in your expensive car, and leave my property before things get unpleasant." My hand hanging loose at my side instinctively clenched into a fist. This wasn't just about legal papers or some faceless developer. This was about Janie's roses just starting to bud by the railing, about the sunset view she cherished, about the legacy entrusted to me. The thought of this sharp-edged woman smelling of cloying perfume and naked greed, stomping her high heels over Janie's memory, ignited a cold, hard anger deep in my gut. She wasn't just trespassing on my land. She was trespassing on my life. My words hung in the suddenly still morning air. Brooke Marston's perfectly sculpted face tightened. Her eyes, cold moments before, flashing with a brief flicker of surprise, quickly replaced by contempt. She actually laughed, a short, brittle sound devoid of humor. "Unpleasant," she echoed, tossing her blonde hair over her shoulder. "Oh, please. You're just some old man squatting on property that's no longer yours. I have a buyer lined up, a very motivated buyer. Either you sign the relocation papers I have right here," she jabbed a manicured finger toward the stack in her hand, "or I'll simply have you removed. Consider this your only generous offer." The gall of it, the sheer dismissive arrogance, left me momentarily speechless. Before I could form a response sharper than the curses forming in my mind, she spun on her heels digging defiantly into the gravel, and stalked back to her ridiculous car. The engine roared to life, and she sped off, leaving another cloud of dust and the faint clawing scent of her perfume hanging offensively in the air. She didn't stay gone long. 3 days later, just as the morning sun reached its peak over the ridge, I heard the crunch of tires again. That same white BMW pulled up the drive, this time accompanied by a black SUV and a nondescript silver sedan. Out stepped Brooke, flanked by 2 men in cheap suits that tried too hard to look official. They walked up the drive like they owned it, with the kind of swagger that comes from thinking paperwork gives you power. Brooke didn't bother coming all the way to the porch this time. She stood with her arms crossed, a smirk tugging at her lips, and the taller of the 2 suits stepped forward. "Mr. Patterson, my name is Colin Brewer. I represent Horizon Property Group. We're here today to oversee the final transition of this property into our client's hands," he said, pulling a file folder from under his arm like it was a magic spell. I didn't say a word. I just crossed my arms and stared. "This doesn't have to be unpleasant," Brewer added with a smile that never touched his eyes. "If you'll cooperate, we can handle this quickly and without further conflict." I finally spoke. "You're trespassing. We're authorized. You're not. And unless you want the county sheriff here again, I suggest you back up and get off my land." The shorter man pulled out a phone and started recording me. "Subject is being hostile and uncooperative," he said loudly. "You want to play that game? Fine." I pulled out my own phone and started recording. "This is Charles Patterson. These individuals are on my private property without permission. I've warned them to leave. This is being recorded and will be sent directly to Sheriff Langston's office." That rattled them. Brewer faltered for a second, looking toward Brooke, who scowled and snapped, "Let's go. This isn't over." She kicked one of Janie's rose planters as she left, shattering it across the porch boards. My heart twisted, but I didn't flinch. Not yet. They left. But I knew they'd be back, and next time it would be worse.